Give me a second here. I'm looking for something and then I will get started. Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
That's what I was looking for. Okay. Good morning, Mark. So let's go ahead and get started with some brief introductions. And then Ryan's going to speak for about 3 hours today. He and I have been kidding about that. um, so, Ryan, why don't you just quickly say hello, and then, of course, we'll introduce you more later.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much, Steve. Oh, that was a joke, by the way, the 3 hours. I thought we were being serious. No, kidding. I'm the regional program manager for Older Adult Technology Services, which is a national organization. We're a charitable affiliate of ARP, and today I'll be talking about our Senior Planet from ARP programming that is free and open to everyone. You don't have to be an ARP member. Maybe I'll stop there. Thanks so much, Steve.
Sounds great. Thanks. And Jeff, can you introduce yourself quickly, and then we're going to hear more from you, as you know, at a future meeting.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Hayes. I'm the Economic Development Rep for the U.S. EDA under Department of Commerce. And I was based there in Arizona for many years, working with USDA Rural Development, and I've been with EDA for about the last 3 years, but I've relocated over to Southern California, back to my Palm Springs area. But anyway, cover both states of California and Arizona, and working on for EDA provides economic development grants for workforce development, training, and business and development expansion.
Yeah. Jeff and I had a great conversation the other day. And first, Jeff, you want to tell people what EDA is? As a lot of people probably don't know that.
Sure. So we're like the third cousin removed from in the Department of Commerce, like just one of the smallest agencies. We're about 250 people across the country. But the sole focus for EDA is we provide grants for uh, workforce development, pre-development projects. Basically, the best way to describe it, for we're looking for to take some of our funds come. Just get tongue-tied here. We use program monies to help take projects and move it out of concept into development. So it could be whether it's a workforce training project or an actual physical project. We have money that would help do feasibility studies, do an economic impact analysis for a project. It can take a development curriculum, so a variety of different soft skills purposes. But the main intent is, or we will build a product that like extend infrastructure or build a building that helps develop jobs or workforce training. So the main premise is that we're either helping develop the product to get it into a position where a business or will hire people or create jobs, or we're actually then building the infrastructure to do it. But the main element is workforce development and a business expansion or creation. So there's always linkages there. But grants typically, like in the soft stuff, is under about $500,000. And then physical construction projects would be somewhere around the $3 to $5 million range. We've done quite a bit of stuff across the state in various rural and urban areas. The key element is that the service areas and the beneficiaries of those businesses or the residents would be in a distressed area, which is typically, areas that have 80% of per capita income of the national average, or the unemployment rate is a 2-year unemployment rate is at least 1% over the national average. So it picks up a wide swath of areas, and it can be whether it's the county or it can be a census tract, depending on collection of that. So we try to tailor the projects to fit to make it eligible, but it's a good program, especially when you have products that you're really trying to formulate, like a workforce development program, or taking a project to say, hey, we want to, we need infrastructure to go to an industrial park or utilities or things like that to get those businesses to play. We can take those projects through preliminary engineering, design, curriculum development, whatever it would be, to get it ready for capital funding and get more money, or we can actually do the implementation and construct it. So it's kind of a catch-all. That's a lot. So I'll start
Uh,
babbling. So
So great. Thanks, Jeff. And as I said, we're going to schedule a regular, lengthy meeting for Jeff to present. because I don't, as far as I know, not- as far as I know, that we've never really had much discussion about EDA in terms of the work that we've all been doing. And so it'll be good to hear that they actually do bring a number of resources. Sarah Jane, just FYI, working with Jeff to schedule a meeting. I've talked with the chancellor the other night, and we're working on a meeting with Pima College. I just thought you'd be interested in knowing that. Um, so let's see, what else do we, so who do we have that's new today? Carmen, want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yes, can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm Carmen Ingram. I'm with the National Center of Urban Solutions Tech. We are an affiliate, or actually, we are under the umbrella of National Center for Urban Solutions out of Columbus, Ohio. And what we do is we provide a 5-week fiber optics class where students can come and learn, be certified, and then we partner with our community partners in the area as well as in employment to get those students not only trained but into those fields. And we are backed by Google Star. So I'm happy and excited to be on this call. Just listening to Jeff, I know he's someone I need to connect with because workforce development, health, and wellness, as well as education, is what is our main goal and our drive of what we do. However, we are here in Phoenix, and I'm excited to be the person who's heading that up and making sure that we are bringing the tech version of National Center for Urban Solutions to the Phoenix Valley of the Sun. So thank you for welcoming me, and I really look forward to hearing what everyone does. And thank you, Steve, for allowing me this opportunity to be on the call.
Sure. And Carmen, I don't know that I've ever heard, maybe others have, but I don't know that I've ever heard of your organization before. So how did you find us today?
We're new here. So we are in 12 different other states, but we finally are here in Arizona. We were looking to do that last year and finally have made it here this year. And with that being said, I was sought out by the company to make sure that we are here and our presence is known and that we are working to, as you all know, make a better way for people to be able to survive, which is why workforce development is so passionate to us, because we all know with the administration and things that are going on and just living in Arizona alone, it is challenging to find a career where you can survive and take care of your family. So we thought that fiber optics was a great opportunity here, just with our infrastructure and how Arizona itself is just building everywhere. So
Great. Well, we'll schedule you for a lengthier presentation in the future and get more details about you and your organization. And in the
great, thank
meantime,
you.
be sure and put your contact information. And I do send the registration list out after the meeting. And so people will have your contact information, but it's usually easiest for people to find it out of the chat. So please put your contact information in the chat.
Absolutely, thank you.
You bet. So Jessica, want to say hello?
Yes, I will. And then apologies to everybody. I've got my video and my audio separated. We're getting some, our building maintenance is doing some work, and I've had the cut out before. So this way I have audio. My name is Jessica Strom. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Digital Lift. I will be taking over for Sky on these meetings because her schedule is a little bit more packed for right now. And I'm actually based in San Antonio, Texas. If you see my video points, then you'll see our river walk in the background. And Digital Lift is a national serving nonprofit organization, and we provide train the trainer certification for digital navigators and others doing that work across the country in various buckets, from libraries to others, and multilingual classroom curriculum and multilingual digital navigator services to help build capacity for organizations.
Great, thanks, Jessica. We definitely would like to have you. It's been a while since Sky's been here, and we've had a lot of new people join us. So it's probably time to have you do an update also.
Will do. And Ryan, I love working with Daryl and Emily, who are here in San Antonio at Oats. They're wonderful. So love them.
Oh, thanks for that. I'll
So,
let them know. I know they like working with you as well, so I appreciate that.
so Jessica, I have to tell you a funny story. I'm sorry if you folks bear with me, but many years ago, I was with an economic development organization, and we were invited by the Air Force to make a trip to San Antonio. And I was sitting on the Riverwalk, and at that time, we were looking for a terminal for the CAP water here in Tucson. And so I said, well, I think we should go back to Tucson and tell them that we should flood the streets and people can gondolier to work. It'll solve the parking problems and traffic problems and so forth. Needless to say, that didn't go over.
I could see why they may not have gone for that. But our big flooding in early 1900s did get us the Riverwalk and the water infrastructure finally because it killed a bunch of people. So so
Yep.
that's how we got the boats. So you never know.
And John, long time no see. Glad you could join us this morning.
Yeah, thanks. Spring break.
Yep, I kind of figured that. So, John, you just want to introduce yourself quickly.
Oh, sure. John Haas. I'm a professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and here in San Francisco for the RSA conference and looking at what's happening and how it relates. Of course, cyber relates to broadband, especially all the new people coming on board, what they need to know about cyber hygiene and being safe in this crazy world we're living in.
Yeah. And of course, should hear from you again, John. It's been a while, and I'm sure you've got a lot to say about cyber and AI.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Mala, do you have any updates that you want to make pretty quickly?
I'm Mala Muralidharan, the State E-Rate Administrator for Public Libraries
Good
in the
job,
state of
Mama.
Arizona. Thank you. I made it a point to say who I was. Yeah.
Thank you, Mama.
There's really not much is happening except that we have the E-Rate application deadline on the 1st of April. So we're all working towards that and trying to make sure that all the applicants get their applications in before the deadline. One other thing is that Shelby Coalition and its partner Shelby is Schools, Health, Libraries, Broadband Coalition. And they and some partners, including Benton and NDIA, filed a brief defending the Universal Service Fund. As you all know, there has been, we've talked about this before, that there's been an appeal in the Fifth Circuit by the Consumer Research saying that that FCC does not have the authority to delegate its authority to the Universal Service Administrative Company that distributes the E-rate money to schools and libraries. So they said they didn't have the authority. They lost their appeal in the lower courts and they're now gone to the Supreme Court to see if they could win something there. So let's see what happens. A couple of other things that we're keeping our ears and eyes open for is the Eyes on Board Act, which says that schools may not receive E-rate funding unless they limit or ban students' access to social media, and school broadband network will be cut off from E-rate funding. So that's something we're keeping an eye on, that Senator Cruz's arguments that's actually detrimental to students' social health. The hotspot lending program is another thing that we're keeping our eyes and ears open to see if there would be any developments, because the Wi-Fi hotspot service to was funded through the E-rate program until last year, but this year they stopped funding it, saying that off-premise use of E-rate for students and school staff and library patrons is not allowable. And the last thing that we're keeping an eye on is the spectrum. The Senate Commerce Committee held a hearing earlier last week about the need to restore FCC Spectrum Auction Authority to make more spectrum available. They're seeking to see if there is a balance between licensed and unlicensed spectrum, because a lot of schools, libraries, and tribes are using Wi-Fi and CBRS for uh, their their needs for home use and off-premise use. Back to you, Steve, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Mama? Bill, I don't know if you want to say anything more about the spectrum issue.
You mean the potential
Mala was just
auctions
talking
and things?
about, yeah,
Sorry?
what Mala was just talking about with the spectrum.
No, Mala, I'm sorry I missed that.
Okay.
No
All
worries,
right.
we are still waiting to hear. So.
I'd like to again apologize for the senator from my state. Sorry, y'all.
Okay. All righty. Aaron, do you want to do a quickie? And what, just so you all know that coming up on the 7th of April, that AZBSN is joining with ADIN, Arizona Digital Inclusion Network, for a day-long meeting, basically, with locations in Tucson, Phoenix, and I believe Sierra Vista, as well as online participation. Aaron, do you want to talk any more about that?
No, that sounded great. I just wanted to share that I put a link in the chat. The flyer is available there on ADIN's website, and also the agenda and a spot to register. So please go ahead and do that so that the various locations can have a head count for the food and the cake that will be involved, because what's an ADIN meeting without cake? So please join us in one of the 3 in-person locations, or if you can't, please be online, and that'll be great. And I'll take this opportunity, just in case Mala didn't see my note in the chat, I would be happy to give you a ride. I hear you're looking for one, so we'll coordinate.
Thank you.
Of course.
See, Mama, I take care of you, don't I?
You really do,
great.
don't you? Thank
And
you.
Steve, you didn't yell at me, so I'm going to yell at myself. My
Oh,
name is
okay.
Erin Lorandos, and I am with Human IT. We're a national nonprofit that provides digital literacy training, devices, and support, in addition to keeping all of our e-waste out of our landfills. So let me know if you ever want to hear more about that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Aaron. Mark, you got anything that you want to do updates on what's happening with the feds? I don't know that there's anything big or new at this point, but
Sure.
anything you want to
Mark
share?
Goldstein, International Research Center and chair of the Arizona Telecom and Information Council. We're still all anxiously awaiting NTIA's guidelines on the non-deployment funds. This is the second half of the BEAD funding, so there is something like $520 million still allocated to Arizona after the deployment funding commitments that have been made and are now going to contract by the broadband office. It was supposed to be announced and defined by March 11th. They're kicking that can down the road still. They keep saying soon. The traditional definitions are for things like digital inclusion, navigators, devices, and so on, as well as workforce development. But there have been a number of listening sessions for and other possibilities. Ariel Roth, as the director of the program, has the discretion to expand it to things like public safety, new middle mile, and all sorts of other possibilities that are being discussed. but no solid news there. Um, the FCC has interestingly long had a program against banning foreign equipment, Chinese equipment, especially Huawei, from American networks and a rip and replace program. Oddly, I think they just banned consumer routers made in China, which are most of them. When you think TP-Link and ASUS, this will not affect currently approved and being sold units, but will preclude without them seeking special exception any new models. There's not really notable American manufacturers, and there's a gazillion ASUS and TP-Link routers out there in the American environment, but they have taken what I think is a somewhat odd step in the consumer world on the routers that almost every one of us would be using to distribute our broadband of choice in our house. On the spectrum front, also, though, FCC has announced, let me find my note on that, that they're proposing to open radio frequency spectrum for quote unquote weird space stuff. And they use that term specifically, and everyone reporting on it puts that in quotes, weird space stuff. And that's non-traditional satellite missions, telemetry, tracking and control, debris removal, on-orbit refueling, and other non-standard activities. So we now have the term weird space stuff entering our vocabulary. And then finally, in the weird space stuff category, Steve has had Randy Lunig and I talk at several meetings about on-orbit compute and orbital data centers, an area that's been part of my client research. I pulled that stuff out and made a little, I think it's about 15-page briefing paper on the topic with a couple of page executive summary, and I'm going to put that in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Going once, going twice. If not, let's move on to Ryan. So Ryan, you're up. Please introduce yourself, and it's all yours. And I assume you want to share, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and share any slides.
Oh, thanks so much, Steve. Here we go. And much like John, I'm actually logging in from the Bay Area in California. And it's just a real pleasure to be here today. Again, I'm Ryan Kawamoto. I'm the Regional Program Manager for Older Adult Technology Services from ARP, which means that I help to oversee operations for our programs across 9 Western states, including Arizona. So it's really great to be here. I apologize if you've seen this presentation before. I tried to come up with some news stories and jokes, but that didn't happen. So here we go. Oops, sorry. So just first off, Older Adult Technology Services was founded in 2004 in Brooklyn, New York. Tom Camber, our executive director, was actually tutoring a neighbor who happened to be an older adult and started to recognize a need for support systems related to technology. And so he founded Oats with that in mind. And fast forward to 2020, literally right before the pandemic, Oats became a charitable affiliate of ARP. So we maintained our nonprofit status. And ARP had been doing a survey of about 3,000 nonprofits across the country, thinking about future strategies and what their members were going to need in the future. And that's where they identified Oats and technology as part of that needed strategy. And so ARP is a pretty large enterprise. I think there are about 2,000 employees across the country. And this is just a picture to show the largeness of ARP, where we have the private side, the services, the insurance that most of you might already be familiar with. And then ARP, the ARP Foundation. Wish of a Lifetime is another nonprofit that they affiliated with when they affiliated with Oats. And then, of course, we work really closely with the ARP state offices, including ARP Arizona. Where it's been really fun to do programming together, or if they're having any of their members or participants needing tech support, they'll refer them to us. And then over here, you can see this arrow and then it points to Senior Planet. That's just because there's a lot of branding going on, right? You have AARP, and then what I like to say is you have Oats as an umbrella organization. And then we have, if you say Oats is Coca-Cola, we have then our branches like Fanta, Sprite. And one of those branches is Senior Planet, which is our main interface, our program interface with our participants that I'll talk about today. And then additionally, other branches include, Tom as our executive director is also an academic. So we have a lot of research being done, reports. So if you're ever writing a grant and need, some data related to the digital divide or specifically older adults and best practices, you can actually go to oats.org, our website, and you'll be able to pull up a lot of those reports. So again, Oats was founded in 2004. We're still a nonprofit. And again, many of our participants aren't even aware of Oats. I like to joke that Oats, though, it's good for you. It's fibrous, but really they are much more familiar with Senior Planet. And then, of course, our mission is to harness the power of technology to change the way we age. And our tagline for Senior Planet is aging with attitude, which I really like and appreciate. So some key facts, again, we're a 501c3, we run Senior Planet. We are a social justice organization, meaning that we are focused on change, and we're an impact model. That also means that we're constantly, I think it's built into our model to fight ageism. So one of my favorite stories is that when I was building our site out here in California in Palo Alto, I was getting the latest technology. So this was 6 years ago, but I was getting Oculuses. We got a robot. We had a 3D printer, PlayStation 4, which was brand new at the time, Nintendo Switch. And all my friends are saying, where do you work and why are you getting all this? Older adults don't play video games. And that's where, for me, it was a wonderful opportunity to correct them, to say, well, that's a myth. Why do we assume that older adults aren't engaged in technology or playing video games? One of my favorite pictures that's actually not in the slide presentation is we actually had a gentleman come in as part of a nonprofit party celebrating the 50th anniversary of Avenidas, which was our partner site. And he got to try virtual reality for the first time. We uploaded the National Geographic app, and literally a lion walks up to him and sneezes, and you get to see him jump, and just the excitement of all of that, where he literally got to travel to Africa in a matter of seconds. I'll talk about this in a second, but we do have three main program channels, and that's where we're always looking for partners, or we're actually doing live programming right now if you want to engage in any of our programming. And then again, as I mentioned, we're an AARP charitable affiliate. On that note, I should also mention too, I mentioned it in my intro, all of our programming is free and meant to be accessible for everyone. So that means even though we are focused on older adults, we are providing a lot of support for caregivers, for a lot of individuals of any age. And again, we aren't just open to AARP members, we're open to everyone. So in terms of our programming, we have five main impact areas, and usually I'll tack on a sixth impact area that's not on here. The first impact area is health and wellness. So that means everything from how do you talk to your doctor on Zoom? What are the latest apps on blood pressure monitoring or sleep apps or meditation apps? We also provide exercise classes over Zoom, and those really became popular during the pandemic when we were being asked to shelter in place. And so now I think we have 400 to 700 attendees in our morning stretch class. In fact, in our last staff meeting, the instructor used AI to create a theme song so that they open to it, and it's like high, like energy pop music. But that's where we have a lot of participants that are reliant on this exercise class because it's consistent every week, and they can do it from the safety of their home. Social engagement is also very important. And so we have discussion groups called Lunch and Learn. So it's all virtual, but you can like bring your lunch to a meeting and just hear about a specific topic, whether it be how to use your iPhone, how to use your iPad, and you can hear from your peers and engage in a critical thinking conversation, especially during the pandemic that became even more important. But it's also how do you host a Zoom meeting? How do you connect with others on social media? What is Facebook? And then our third impact area is creative expression. So that's everything from, you have 1,000 pictures on your phone, you have 1,000 pictures on Google, on your cloud. What do you do with those pictures now? How do you use Canva? And on that note, I should mention that we tend to focus on free or very affordable platforms that people can easily access. So we have a lot of sessions on Google Suites or G Suites, Canva, again, platforms that are very accessible and easy to access. Then our fourth impact area is financial security, and that includes everything from how to protect your personal information online to how to use eBay. We have a whole program series about entrepreneurship. So everything from how do you start a small business, or how do you create a website for a small business? What's, PayPal, P2P payment systems. During the pandemic, again, it was really popular to take our e-banking sessions, just again, because you could then not have to go into the bank physically. But this also includes misinformation, right? How do you prevent the spread of misinformation? And how do you prevent fraud? And so we have a lot of sessions, especially now related to AI and disinformation and AI and scams. And then the fifth impact area is civic participation, meaning how do you engage with an elected official, whether that be following them on Twitter or X, or how do you email them? How do you, find an elected official online? And then also that overlaps with, how do you combat misinformation as well, especially if there's a political campaign going on. And then the sixth impact area is really our basics. So how do you use your iPhone? How do you use your iPad? Where's a microphone? How do you download an app? So those sessions are really meant for beginners to technology too. And so in terms of our program channels, we do have four centers across the country. One is in Manhattan, New York. We're actually currently renovating that space right now. We have a retail space, which is, I say retail, but it's a nonprofit. It's much like our other centers where you can come in and take classes. And that's in upstate New York, and actually a shopping mall. We're looking for where do older adults, congregate to, especially in a more rural area. We also, this picture on the left is actually a converted airplane hangar in Denver, Colorado that we turned into a coffee bar slash senior planet space. So you can go in there. I think you can get some free coffee, some snacks, and then take a session. And then in the last 2 years, we actually opened up a space in the art district in Miami in Florida. Then we're always looking for partners. And so this is where if you go to seniorplanet.org/map or oats.org /licensing, you'll be able to find an interactive map where you can type in your address and it'll actually pull up all of our partner sites close in your area. But this is where we do have a license program, meaning that if you're an organization that's interested in getting access to our curriculum and getting ongoing support to provide digital literacy train skills to your participants, this is where then we'd be more happy to partner. We do require an application, but that's purely just to make sure that our partner sites are set up to succeed, meaning that part of the application is, do you have a facility? Do you have devices? And if not, then we can have a further conversation to try to accommodate or figure out how to work together. And then the third option is online, virtual. So before the pandemic, we were only operating in person. And then when the pandemic hit, we actually converted all of our programming to our website. So you could click on links to join sessions over Zoom. So you could actually go to seniorplanet.org right now. I won't be offended if you leave and go to a session right now, but we offer 40 to 60 different sessions a week, mostly in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. We have some limited programming in Vietnamese, Russian, and I think Haitian Creole, but it really tends to be English, Spanish, and Mandarin right now. And I can do a quick demo of our website too that we just revamped, given that our website had technically not been meant for all of our virtual programming when the pandemic hit. We can quickly, transform the website. But in the last 2 years, we've been getting feedback on what do our participants want out of a website, and excited that we just launched this new website 2 weeks ago. And so going back to the centers, as I mentioned, we have 4 centers across the country. These are all different pictures from our sites. And then again, as I mentioned, our licensing program. And so this website, oats.org/licensing, and I can do a quick demo of this website as well, is where we have all our information. We do have informational sessions about every 2 weeks. So if you are an organization that's interested, you can register for one of those sessions. Of course, you can always contact me or our license team if you have any questions as well. But this is where we are providing, again, we have over, I think, 400, it might even be closer to 500 different topics translated into English, Mandarin, and Spanish related to our impact areas that then you can have free access to then to deliver our programming. And this site is actually old, but I think, actually have 750 licensed partner sites across the country now, with 120 active partners. And I think we're actually closer to 70,000 lifetime engagements from our different licensed sites. And then in terms of our virtual programming, so this is actually a screen capture of our brand new website. Up in this upper left-hand corner, which is really tiny, we always list a banner that has our Senior Planet Contact Center that I'll talk about in a second. A new feature on our website too is you can create an account, which is again free. And what that means is this, again, this was based on feedback, is it allows you to set up reminders that, let's say, next week on Tuesday at 9 a.m., there's an exercise class or a session on cloud storage that you want to be reminded about. You can set that up and you'll get a reminder sent to you. On top of that, this is where you can access all of our programming, in addition to all of our Zoom links for all of our sessions. But the other cool thing about the account that we had heard about too that people wanted is it also will then list all of the previous sessions you've taken. So we have 8 to 9 sessions on AI. Some of them overlap on like what is AI to everyday AI. And this just allows you to then be able to see what you've taken in the past to know if you want to repeat it or that you've already taken it. But that's was a request from our participants too. But this is, again, everything we offer is free Monday through Friday. We have virtual discussion groups, as I mentioned too, multilingual programming. The other thing too is that we have a lot of articles just meant for older adults. I don't know how our editor does this, but she's able to interview quite a few really cool celebrities. I think in a previous meeting I mentioned, recently she, I think, interviewed Annette Bening, both Cheech and Chong, and it tends to be adult articles really focused for older adults. We also have a sex expert that talks about sex in older adults as well. Those tend to be some of our more popular articles as well. And then while all of our sessions are live, taught by live instructors, we have received requests for, well, what happens if it's off hours? What if I'm international and it's hard for me to take a session? This is where, if you go to YouTube, you can type in Senior Planet and it'll pull up with a bunch of tech tip videos. They're about 1 to 3 minutes each, but it's everything from, how do you create a Gmail account to, how do you download apps, but all sorts of different topics on that channel. And then something that's really wonderful is that we have a toll-free national hotline, which really came out of the pandemic as well, as we started to see a lot of participants either needing support in accessing our website or just having general tech questions. So this is where you can call to talk to our staff. We do have multilingual staff and support in Spanish and Mandarin. And if you aren't able to get through, leave a voice message, and we try to get back to everyone within 1 business day. But this is everything from, I have an iPhone and I just got a text message asking me to update my operating system. Should I be doing that? What does that mean? Is that safe? To a longer question, it could be, I'm really interested in how to learn how to use Spotify, but I don't know how to download it. I don't know how to use it. And that's where then our tech hotline can actually set up a free 1 hour one-on-one tech support session where they can actually walk through and provide support on any given topic. And this is where, when setting that up, they'll ask for what you're interested in getting support on. And if they can, then they'll start to research it and prep for that session. But again, all that's free. On that note too, for a lot of our participants, we found that social isolation can be very problematic and that our participants are vulnerable to social isolation. So this is where we created Senior Planet Community. You can join again for free at community.seniorplanet.org. And this is where, when you create an account, you can log in then. And this is where then you can see the screen capture where you'll find a lot of different groups and topics, possibly with shared interests. So for example, if you like to garden, there'll be a thread just on gardening. If you like pets, there'll be a thread just on pets. If you are looking for a good book to read, there's a book lovers group, right? And this is where then you can engage with others. You can actually type something into the thread, and then you can get responses across the country and from our staff. A tech tip too is that there is a Ask a Tech Expert group on here as well. So let's say it's after hours and our hotline is closed. You can also then type in a tech question, and our staff will try to respond as quickly as possible. But you can also then engage with our peers as well for tech support in that thread. So that's become really popular. One of our success stories is that we actually had two participants that were only 3 miles away in Rhode Island taking our programming, didn't know that they were that close, and then were able to connect. And after the pandemic, have now become really close friends. They're meeting up in person to have coffee, and that is really important for us to just create that sense of community. We also have a podcast. So this ranges on multiple topics. I think we're in season 3 now, where it's just different podcasts related to older adults and sometimes technology, but really just of topics of interest. And this is where, if you have topics too, we're always looking for good topics to do a podcast on as well. But you can access all of those on seniorplanet.org/podcasts. And again, just wanting to plug our hotline again. If there's any takeaway from today, please know that you can refer participants to this number for them to get free support. One of my favorite stories too is that our program lead out of Colorado, I don't know if I should be sharing this story, but his mom got stuck at the airport and he was trying to help her download Uber. Well, there's a lot of emotion there, right? A lot of family baggage experience there. And so he wasn't able to really help her. So that's when he realized, wait a second, she can call our hotline. So she was immediately able to call our hotline. They're able to help her download Uber, and she was immediately able to go home. We have another success story about one of our participants who was less mobile, and so she's really isolated in her apartment, and she got locked out of her email account, which then meant she couldn't access Instacart, and she was really, really hungry. So our hotline actually stayed extra hours to make sure that she could get back into her email account to then get back into the app, and then she was able to order food. And then if you want to take a screen capture, if there's any important slide, I think it's this, where again, this is just breaking down all of our programming, where you can go to seniorplanet.org to attend all of our classes, read articles. There's some links to our tech tip videos. In addition, you can go to YouTube. Oats.org is, again, our umbrella organization where we have client projects, reports with a lot of data and best practices related to delivering programming for older adults. And then, of course, our licensing and information and application. And then our Senior Planet hotline that's available 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Saturdays with limited hours from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Senior Planet Community. And then, of course, my contact information in case you have any questions or want to email me, would be more than happy to communicate. And then on that note, I'll stop sharing and I'll switch over, if we have time, to our website, just to do a quick walkthrough.
Sure, Ryan, while you're doing that, I can't remember if you had sent me your presentation or not. If you haven't, please do.
Yeah, and it's such a large file. I think I sent over a PDF, so please feel free
that's even better
to share that. But again, yeah, if you didn't receive it, let me know, and I'd be more happy to share my slides again.
Okay.
So this is our website that I'm still getting used to. But up here, as I mentioned, the really cool thing is that I'm, again, in the Bay Area. So you can see here that it actually converts our hours for our hotline into the local time zone. It can sense from your IP address where you're logging in from. And it'll actually convert that. So if you're logging in from Arizona, that should be the appropriate time for our hotline hours. But that's always at the top of the banner. So in case you're ever just like, hey, I need some quick tech support, know that you can go to seniorplanet.org for that. Here too, you can sign in for your account. You can join for free. But just really quickly, if you click on classes, this a drop-down menu appears, and this is where you can go to all, which will pull up a calendar with all of our sessions. You can also click on any of these topics, and it'll pull up the sessions just related to those topics. And then just wanting to mention that there's a link to all of our Spanish programming, so the page is completely in Spanish, and then a link to our Mandarin programming, where everything is in Mandarin as well, including the session and our handouts. One other thing I want to mention is that we did receive a Webby Award for being accessible. And so if you click on this far right-hand bottom little button, it'll pull up. I don't know if you can see up the pop-up menu, but you can then do some access our accessibility features, which ranges from, on our old website, we used to put text in pictures, and we've learned that's not a great thing to do because the screen reader won't be able to read that. So now our website, everything is in text so that you can then, especially if you're visually impaired, you can click on the screen reader and it'll read everything on our website. You can change the font size, the contrast of the colors, and all of that. And that again can be accessed through the button on the bottom right. And then one thing I always like to mention, well, why don't I go through our classes first? So if I click on all, you'll see that it'll pop up to this page. Again, you can click on different topics here, but right here, you can search by keyword for any one of our sessions. Again, this is our over 400 sessions, 40 to 60 different sessions a week. Right now, I mentioned our morning stretch class with Cass is going on. All you need to do is click on that link. You'll be entered into a Zoom waiting room, and then the instructor will let you into the session. We have online travel sites, digital legacy at a glance. I should also note too, for the most part, you don't need to register for any sessions. You can just click on the link. And if you do need to register, it's usually meaning that programming is tied to a grant. But there'll be instructions. So even, let's see, for Google Workspace, if you click on Google Workspace, it'll pull up and it's loading. And this is where then you can click join now at the time of the session and you'll be entered into the session. The other cool thing is you can click on any of these to get a reminder, but then you can also get a reminder from your account as well. So the other thing too is, let's say you're interested in AI. As I mentioned, we have a lot of AI sessions. We got a grant from OpenAI to create about 8 or 9 topics specifically for older adults. And then, so if you just type in AI and you do a search, it'll actually pull up all of our upcoming sessions related to AI. So is that AI, intro to chatting with AI. A secret tip too is if you type in seniorplanet.org/AI, it'll actually take you to a special landing page that's all about our AI programming. And one thing I want to note is that part of that grant is we created a free AI for older adults guidebook. It's a PDF that you just have to click and download. And this is really just meant to provide common vocabulary, answer some really basic questions about AI. So if you happen to be presenting on AI or doing a session where you're teaching older adults how to use AI, know that you could download this for free and disseminate it to your audience members beforehand. And then I apologize too. I think there might be some messages in the chat, but I'll really quickly just wanted to show a couple other things too. Under resources, if you go down to newsletter, this is where you can sign up for our free newsletter. What it means is that every week you'll get an email with all of our upcoming sessions. So especially if you're new to technology and don't want to go to our website or navigate at all, know that if you enter your name, and we don't ever share contact information with third-party vendors, and you enter your email address, what I usually recommend is clicking on online events, and you'll then get a weekly email. And the greatest thing is in that email, we have all the links, much like our website, to all of our sessions. So you don't even need to go to our website. You can just open up that email, click on the link, and be entered into one of our sessions that are coming up. We also, as I mentioned, have different programming in specific markets. One thing I didn't mention is we do have a presence in San Antonio. As Jessica mentioned, Daryl and Emily are our staff there, where while we don't have a physical location, we have a network of partner sites. And we also have a network of partner sites in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is just outside of DC. And then you just click subscribe, you'll start getting the weekly emails. And then, of course, if you click on community, this will take you to community.seniorplanet.org, where you can then create an account. Here you can see I'm already logged in as me, but if you click on groups, it'll pull up all these different groups that then you can let's see, pet lovers. You can then see there'll be a feed with pictures, conversations, just different things where you can engage with others that have a shared interest. And then one final page is our oats.org/licensing page that I mentioned. So especially if you're interested in becoming a licensed partner, this is where you can see we have an information session on April 8th and April 22nd. And then we have our application here that you can just click on. It'll pop up all the questions so that you can know that beforehand. And then down in the middle of the page where we are, this is where you can type in your zip code or your address, do a search. It'll pop up all the different locations in your area. And on that note, I'll stop there to answer any questions. And
Oh, I think that's cool.
oh, thanks, John. And Dave, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm actually located in
kind of senior citizen central here. I'm south of Tucson, and we have probably 40,000 or so to 50,000. So if I could give you someone, if you have an outreach person, I don't know anyone here anymore. I am actually outside of Green Valley Rec, but if you go to the website, gvrec.org,
Okay.
I'm looking through, I don't know anybody on the board there anymore or the executive director, but I used to work closely with them when the iPad first came out.
Oh, great.
But please contact them. I'm sure they would love to hear from you.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I feel like, again, for me, I love doing these types of presentations because the whole point is to say our programming is risk-free, open to everyone, and free. So just, the more people that are aware of our programming, hopefully the better. And so that's great.
Well, and I'd love to see you chat with them about opening a center here.
Yeah, and that's where, I'd be more happy to talk to them about either opening a center, or identifying, if they want to become a licensed site. I should mention too, for a licensed site, it could be a volunteer that is delivering our programming. Usually we request two people at a site. It could be the same person. One as an administrator to coordinate and schedule the sessions, and two, an instructor to deliver our programming. Sometimes it's a volunteer, sometimes it's staff, sometimes they're the same person. So if building a location doesn't work, this is where we can actually use existing, the existing infrastructure. But that would be great. And again, that's gvrec.org.
Yeah, it's gvrec.org. That stands for Green Valley Recreation.
Great.
And they had a very active computer club that I worked with years ago. I'm sure they're still there.
Okay, great.
But I think our median age here is 73, so there's very fertile ground for you.
That's awesome. Great.
And probably for some donations too, because we have a lot of people here that are. And then another organization that you may want to contact here, it's a private, but it's a continuing care facility that's very large. There's a place called La Posada.
Oh, great.
But you'll find a lot of that information if you go to the Green Valley Sarita Chamber of Commerce down here, you'll see a lot of senior stuff.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that.
And if you're ever in Southern Arizona, we'd love to meet you in person and make some introductions.
Oh, I'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, you'd be a hit down here.
Oh, thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate all of that.
You bet.
So a couple of things before we move on. Just a reminder that you can download the chat for the meeting, right? As we end the meeting here, if you go to chat at the very top, you'll see 3 ellipses. And if you click on that, you can download the chat to your computer. I do send the chat after the meeting, but if you want it today and you want all the contact information that people put into the chat, you can get that immediately. Also, I think Mark, you put in a document to download. You cannot, after the meeting, you can't do that. I would have to do that. I've actually had some problems in opening any attachments that people include in our chat, but I try to send out those documents also. So anyway, just wanted to mention that to you. So any questions, comments, thoughts? Ryan, a great presentation, and please do send the PDF to me or so I can download it or whatever, because it was a great presentation.
Oh, thanks again. And again, a pleasure to be here. Yeah, please feel free, to email me, contact me if you have any questions. But again, it's for me, it's really exciting. I feel like our programming, I think I mentioned this previously in a meeting, but we have a 90-year-old monolingual Mandarin speaking participant. He attended one of our wearable sessions in Mandarin, just happened to set up his Apple Watch. 2 weeks later, wound up falling in his apartment. Wasn't able to contact any of his family because they're all on the East Coast. His Apple Watch immediately contacted his landlord, who called the paramedics. He wound up in the hospital, came back to our sessions, and explained that Senior Planet saved his life. And so for me, that's everything, and that's why I love the work that I get to do, and that's why I love to present as well. So again, just a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much.
Cool. So Mala, you put something in the chat about a library, and you want to comment about that? And then I have an additional question about libraries, but go ahead, Mala.
Oh, I just wanted to say that, I caught the word caregivers in Ryan's presentation. And I said, that's a group that we really need to work with, because not only do we need to work with patients, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or whatever, when I'm working in the telehealth space as well. So, but the caregivers of these people, they need a support. They need lots of support. And I think this would really get them, they are isolated as well, And Cochise County does have, Cochise County, some of our libraries in Cochise County do have um, support groups for Alzheimer's patients and Parkinson's patients who meet regularly. And I was just thinking this would be great to introduce them to.
Yeah, you're on mute, Ryan.
Just nodding, but yeah, I'm personally a caregiver. My dad actually has heart disease, so that's why I'm actually based out of Oakland. I'm providing support for him, and so I appreciate everything you're saying. I'm also a former executive director of an older adult community center in San Jose, where we were providing caregiver support, and just seeing the resources, and I feel like for a lot of caregivers, they're thrust into the position. It's not like they've been able to pre-plan that. And so oftentimes it's how quickly can you identify resources, support systems, right? While you're in that stressful moment, and also trying to figure out how to provide support for your loved ones. So for us, that's where, yeah, we're trying to provide as much tech support there as possible.
And many of the things that you showed us on your website are really so interesting. I could spend a whole day on them, and days, several days. I'm looking at all the various groups that that quickly scrolled by, and I've got your website open now, so I can look. I think I can spend all day on it.
And on that note, we do have a landing page for caregivers. So it's meant for programming for caregivers as well. I'll try
Thank
to see
you.
if I can find it and put it in the chat too. But again, if you do a search, you can usually type in, let me see if I can find it just by that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. No, thank you.
Aaron, you got a question, comment?
I was just wondering, Ryan, I feel like I probably should know this, but have you ever presented to the Library Association's Professional Development Committee?
I don't think I have.
Okay, I'll
Um,
connect you there. Because so the Professional Development Committee for AZLA, the Library Association, which I mean, it's every library, person in the state basically. They host a monthly webinar series. And it's often on, either programs that people have done in their libraries or resources for, and so that would be a really great way to get in front of the people who might be able to facilitate what Mala is talking about. So
yeah,
I'll connect you.
I would love that, Aaron. That's really
Yeah.
great. And I should mention too, I actually just met with my local library just yesterday to talk about programming here in my hometown. But that the majority of our partner sites through our licensing program are actually libraries,
Yeah.
because it just makes sense. They're set up with the infrastructure already with brilliant librarians that are educators. So that would be great, Aaron. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, and to your point in the presentation too, it's a place where people already gather. So it's a smart
Exactly.
place to do that. And you hit both the potential senior and the caregiver or, their family. So yeah, I'll do that. Thanks.
Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks.
So Aaron, you just took my comment. I was gonna thought
Sorry.
I thought for sure that Mala would bring this up, and of course she sort of did. But I do think that obviously because there's a network of libraries in the state, and of course Mala works with every library in the state. Um, and as Aaron just talked about the Library Association, which certainly is a great resource, is can you maybe provide a little bit of an example of a library that has actually become a partner site? Or am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think through. So I have to admit that I think a lot of our partners have been with libraries have been, especially on the East Coast. A lot of the partners that I've worked with have been primarily older adult community centers that are already providing programming, but then we're just adding on that digital literacy piece. Um, but I can get back to you too on some examples. But yeah, we've been primarily, I know that we have a partnership, I think, with a New York library system. Um, that has been, I think, longstanding. But yeah, off the top of my head, I've never actually been asked that. That's a really good question.
It's
So
we have an awesome state library. There
yeah.
you go, Mala. and great state library and a library system here in the state with a lot of great libraries doing great stuff. And I'm sure that they would be very interested. I think Aaron, what Aaron suggested, is probably a great way to reach out to them. And Molly, you may have other thoughts, but it might be great for us to not only for you to do a presentation to the Library Association, but actually do a working session. And that's why I was asking that question of could we, if we convened a workshop of some kind to talk specifically about what would a relationship with a library look like? What would a partnership? And I know you mentioned that a lot of your work is done with volunteers, and you've got training programs and stuff like that. So it might be interesting to know more about that and how libraries and our community centers could partner with you more detail than what we talked about today.
Yeah, I would love that. And Mala too. We have a full team that does our licensing program, where they can walk through all of the logistics, everything. Those are the staff members too that check that email account for our licensing website. So this is where I'd be more happy to be a part of that, or and in addition to connecting you with our licensing team staff. But Steve, I love that idea. That'd be really great.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ryan. Any other questions or comments for Ryan before we move on? Okay, we're running out of time, but quickly, Melanie, you got anything that you want to update us with?
Good morning, everyone. This is Melanie Escher with the Arizona Telemedicine Program and Southwest Telehealth Resource Center. We finalized our agenda for our upcoming council meeting. That's going to get posted on the website today. If you haven't signed up for that, you can also sign up for our email news blast with all of our various events. I've got some DEA opioid focused webinars coming up that I'm working with, not on the prescribing side, but on the overdose side, and hoping to be able to reach out to our EMTs and our EMS, all those folks out in those rural areas that don't necessarily have, some of the medical center, in the larger communities, resources and what they can do. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a full bunch of events coming up. Thank you, Steve, for letting me give a little pitch. Plus, don't forget our joint super meeting coming up on April 7th. We were doing some testing yesterday, and it's going to be really exciting.
Great. Thanks, Melanie. Dave, do you have another question or comment?
Yes, I'm actually just following kind of the breaking news. This huge earthquake hit the internet, I guess, yesterday, or when it was announced that Sora, OpenAI was shutting down Sora. And I guess that caused Disney to pull about $1 billion off the table with that. So that's gonna, for anyone doing business with OpenAI, or certainly from the content end, this is a massive tidal wave. And probably most of Sora was used for generating the deep fakes. That's probably it, but tons and tons of individual users have been using that as a tool. So for those of you that are interested, I would just keep up with the news. There's not a lot right now, but that is a massive wave when it comes to internet use. So
okay. Thank you, Dave. Anything else anybody has before we end for today? Again, Ryan, thank you. And I think you'll probably find other folks. Unfortunately, Christy King dropped off, and she's with one of the libraries in Northern Arizona. I'm sure she would love to have conversations. They do a lot of very innovative kinds of things up there also.
Great, thanks.
So if there's nothing else, I think we are done for today. Thank you all. I'm going to stop recording, and if anybody wants to hang around and kibitz for a few minutes, if not, we're done.